Okay, good evening, everyone. So today's class, as discussed, will be starting on history of architecture. And see, history of architecture, before we start or we discuss anything related to this, I must inform you guys that history of architecture is a vast thing. And this history of architecture changes from place to place. For example, what's the history of architecture in India? It might not be the same for, like, if we consider the Western countries or if we consider the Middle East. So history of architecture over here, whatever we are going to study or we are going to go through, this is a handwritten note by me. So this is in general, we will get an abrupt idea about what are the things that might come in your exam. And in general, what are the things that we will have to cover up to go for your, or to get a proper knowledge or to get an idea about the timeline of the periods or the important, structural periods which we have seen over the time. For example, the Roman period, it made some great changes or some great impacts in architecture of today, wherever it is throughout the world, right? So we will go and try to understand all these things in a step-by-step procedure. Okay. So this is just and abrupt idea about you don't need to look at it. This is just about that, okay, how the things happens and all. For example, a cell and all, everything starts its journey from one single cell and then followed by multiple number of cells, and this evolution and this progress which has taken place, same kind of thing is also occurring in our architecture. This is just to give you an understanding of this, okay, nothing else. So we will move on, keeping all these things behind, to this, please. History of architecture, development, and progress. So basic thing and the very first thing what we need to understand when we talk about architecture or any structural build is that every structure is having some sort of design, decoration, or whatever you call inside it, right? So when we are talking about history of architecture, naturally we think about, okay, then how was at that point of time inside that structure, what was the kind of interiors that was made? Now, interiors definitely not like today's, but okay, somewhat or the other thing was there, right? No one had a blank house or whatever or wherever they stayed in, it was never a blank. See, previously, when I am talking about the Stone Age, at that point of time, people were staying in caves. So what kind of interior decoration they used to have? The very natural thing which we find today in the Ajanta cave, Ellora cave, and all these things, similar kind of thing is found in the Altamira cave located near the historic city of Santillana del Mar in Cantabria, Spain. This sort of interior design, the interior design that is found over here is a sort of painting which dates back to 36,000 years ago, as of now known as the world's first so-called interior design that was done. Now, we have not found out anything till now as of today. That's something which is more recent, or some recent discovery which shows that, okay, there was something else dating back to a much longer period before this. So we are considering this as the very sort of first interior design that we are able to see. Now, again and again, I am mentioning in terms of interior design, when I am talking about interior design means nothing but cave paintings done with the use of hand, and the colors were extracted from the natural flora and fauna. Clear? Now, interior design in the sense cave painting, this is just in text format again. This painting mainly comprises of charcoal drawings, polychrome paintings of contemporary local flora and fauna in human hands. Using the human hands, have you seen any sort of paintings in old caves and all? Any pictures have you guys seen? Yes, no? Have you guys seen any sort of cave paintings?
Yes, sir.
You have seen, right? Fine. Okay, let me quickly try to show you guys uh, some cave painting. This will give you a better idea. So you will see Okay. See, we will see right now some of the cave paintings. Okay. Give me a minute, please. Let me reshare the screen with you, the new one. See, I have tried to find out some images which will give you an idea about how the cave paintings were done back in that period. So for example, there are different structures, there are different things which have been tried to be depicted through these cave paintings. But these cave paintings are not made using by the usage of brushes, right? Because at that point of time there were no such brushes which really existed, so it was done with the use of hands, thumbs, fingers, some things, few things which are extracted from nature. And then, like, the extract was from the various pigments that are available from the nature, from different plants. And with the help of those pigments different colors were produced, and with the help of that these paintings were done. So these are some of the beautiful examples of cave paintings, as you can see over here. Yeah, also I must mention there were quite a few paintings which we have also seen done using the help of something like, you can tell chisel and hammer, something like that. So at that point of time, chisel was not available, but things like, a sharpened stone hit with something else as like a hammer, and things were carved out on the walls. These kind of thing we have also seen, which date back to this period. Okay. Now we will quickly go back to our PDF where, our study material where we were discussing. So interior design in the sense of cave painting, this painting mainly comprises of charcoal drawing and polychrome paintings of contemporary local flora and and human hands. Okay. In India, this so-called interior design could be found at Bhimbetka rock shelters or rock cave shelters almost 10,000 years ago. So what we have just discussed about the world's first Altamira, cave painting found in Altamira cave 36,000 years ago. In India, if we consider the discoveries which have been done 10,000 years ago, and this so-called interior design could be seen, which is there in the Bhimbetka rock cave shelters. Okay. The series of natural rock shelters in the foothills of the Vindhya range, central India. They are situated 45 kilometers from Bhopal in the west central Madhya Pradesh state. Clear? Any doubts till now?
No, sir.
Okay. What about Shakti? I can see you have not responded. Are you getting it?
Sir,
Okay, fine. So we move ahead now. The series of natural rock shelters in the foothills of the Vindhyas, central India. Okay, this is Madhya Pradesh state. We have discovered. We have done this now. So discovered in 1957, this complex structure consists of 700 shelters. So it was kind of a community, not for a single person or not for a kind of one family or just a few people. It was kind of a community which was being settled. Might be there are even more which has been destroyed in terms of the natural course of nature or natural course of the things how it went. Okay, 10,000 years is definitely not a matter of joke. 700 shelters have been discovered, and one of them is the largest repositories of prehistoric um, art in India. Okay, so this all the 700 set of caves which are found are the set of largest repositories of prehistoric art in India. What do we mean by this? The simple thing is that if there are different or several repositories of art, ancient art, what we have seen, out of which this is one where we altogether see a number of arts done at one place. You can understand 700 shelters, each one of them having something or the either in a very vast sense. Okay, now one more thing which you need to remember or need to know about this is um, complexly. Okay, so one thing is complexly this whole settlement shelters are surrounded by Ratnapani Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay, but most important is that this particular site, this particular place is designated as the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2003. Okay, make sure you remember it. Now we start with the timeline of civilization and architecture. How slowly and gradually things passed from one stage to the other, things moved ahead, and eventually things were built. So when we are at the place or the position from where we are starting, for example, the Stonehenge one, at that point of time in the world all over, we are talking about Stonehenge. So it's not like that in Europe it was Stone Age, so over here in India it was a modern civilization. Things never happened like that. So all this course, this timeline which we are going to discuss, this is the sum up of everything. How step by step, one by one, in world we have came to see across different things, or how the things went from one position to the other, and finally we come to today's modern architecture. This timeline thing, you need to remember what are the importance, what are the things we are discussing right now. So the very first thing is the Stonehenge one. In Stonehenge, what we used to see, what is the basic concept of Stonehenge? The basic concept of Stonehenge one is there will be post. Post means what? Column and pillar and a column on top of that. Oh, sorry, pillar or column and on top of that a beam. This is the kind of thing that we used to see. This columns or pillars are known as post, and this top part is known as lintel. This is the kind of thing. Lintel is used in today's construction as well. So above your windows, above your doors, below which there is a vacant space, right? So for example, let's assume if this is your window, okay? This is wall, this is window. Let's just assume. So over here, this is a vacant space. This is your hollow space. So if I don't have any support just above this section, if I don't have any support, wait, let me stop sharing this screen. So if I don't have any support above this window, what will happen naturally? The bricks which are above this, they will create a pressure on this particular surface, and definitely it will not be able to withstand it because there are no supports below this. Am I right or wrong?
Yes, sir.
So what is a lintel? A lintel is nothing but a lintel is kind of a beam. Previous olden structures we see there are different kinds of wooden structures which are used over here, the interior. Today's time we see there is a 6 mm concrete made using iron bars and all running through over there. So what happens is that particular structures or that iron bar beam which is passing smaller beam 6 mm thin. So that 6 mm thin, thin, thick. So that particular thing, what it's doing is it's holding the weight of the units above it, and hence the pressure is not coming downwards and it is not falling off. So wherever there is a hollow space, lintel has to be there at the top of this hollow space to keep the support. For side work, there is no requirement because there are no pressures exerted from this side, but there is a pressure from the top. There is the lintel is being used over here. Okay, or on top of any door, any windows, this thing is being used today as well. Now, this is just for understanding purpose, your what I mentioned over there as post and lintel in that PDF. Okay, we'll go back to the PDF now. Yeah. So, in Stone Age 1, what we used to see? In Stone Age 1, we find that a very basic architectural design consisting of lintel and posts. Okay. Now, after the Stone Age civilization, after we passed from the Stone Age, okay, any idea about or any Stone Age structures which is coming to your mind you might have seen? Quickly. We'll have to take this class forward very quickly.
No, sir.
Seen?
No, sir.
You have not seen. Okay. The very ancient structure, or whenever I talk about Stonehenge, this particular picture, which I'm going to show you now, should come to your mind immediately. Okay. Have you guys seen this before?
Yes,
This
sir.
structure, anyhow, somewhere, Facebook,
I
WhatsApp,
studied architecture. I studied
huh?
stone hanging services.
Yeah, right. So this is this is the ancient structure of Stonehenge which still exists today. Okay. Now there are different theories, different logics behind this, that what was this used for, how was the structure before, and all and all. But this is whenever I talk about Stonehenge, this particular structure should come to your mind. Okay. Now let's go back to the PDF quickly. So, okay, what we have now is the Sumerian civilization. What is the Sumerian civilization? So the Stone Age 1 is followed by the Sumerian civilization, and this is one of the earliest civilizations known in the historical region of southern Mesopotamia. Okay, emerging during the Catholic early ages. between the 6th and the 5th millennium BC. The very first civilization which we get to see is the Sumerian civilization, just right after the Stonehenge. Now, all these things are kind of based on historians, what they have perceived from their study. So what is true today might not be true tomorrow after a recent discovery. Okay. So you must keep in mind all those things are subjected to the discoveries which are being made at a certain point of time. So things are, so for example, 500 years back from now, that time also historians were there. And whatever they have discovered till then, that was like, the latest thing. What is there today is as far as the latest discoveries which have been done. Okay. Now, let's move ahead. Ancient civilization in India. Okay, so starts from the Indus Valley civilization, present location Pakistan and West India. Evidence of religious practices in the area date back approximately to 5500 BC. It was the Bronze Age civilization in the South Asia. Okay, and from this, hence we find out that the agriculture was made as colonized. Okay, so just give me a minute, please. Yeah. So, and see this ancient civilization of India, the Mesopotamia, Harappan civilization, which is also known as the Indus Valley civilization, followed by things or the early civilization in Western beside the Nile River, over the Indus River. Why always beside a river? Because people understood at a very early stage of time that we need to harvest. We need to harvest crops. We cannot rely on the food that is grown in jungles. Have to rely on crops that are harvested, and hence we will have to find out a source for the generation of food. So if we have to find out a source of our generation of food, then we will have to settle down at a place from where easily, water is accessible. Now, where the water is accessible at the easiest way, the very simple answer is near a river. So, and the soil is also fertile. So, ancient civilizations, wherever we see them, they are always situated somewhere beside a water body, a river. Must be mentioned, where there will be no scarcity of water. Okay. Okay, it was the Bronze Age civilization in the South Asia. So this is the Harappan civilization. Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, and the Indus Valley civilization is known as the Bronze Age civilization in South Asia. Now we move over to Egyptian civilization. We are trying to discuss everything. This was built across the Nile River, Egyptian civilization. This also shows that agriculture colonized us. Same thing, ancient civilization of the North Africa, unification around 3100 BCE. Name of the Egyptian script is hieroglyphs. Okay, Hiero hieroglyphs, GLYPHS. This thing you make sure you remember, because sometimes question might come. Name of the Egyptian script is hieroglyphs. Now we move over to the Chinese civilization. Chinese civilization 1600 to 211 BC beside the Yellow River, Shanghaira, again a river, started spreading from when the Bronze Age culture has reached its peak. So by the time the Bronze Age culture has reached its peak, Chinese civilization started to spread. Now we move on to the Mesopotamian civilization. What and where is this Mesopotamian civilization? Mesopotamia is a historical region of Western Asia situated within the Tigris-Euphrates river system. In modern days, roughly corresponding to the most of Iraq, Kuwait, and western parts of Syria. So this is where this particular location was there. Sumerians dominated Mesopotamia till 539 BC. Around 150 BC, Mesopotamia was under the control of the Parthian Empire. Okay. So, Mesopotamia is a historical region of Western Asia situated within the Tigris-Euphrates river system. In modern days, roughly corresponding to these places. So, these are the locations Not exactly whole of this location will be covered, but some part of this, some part of that, and together this whole civilization existed at that point of time. Iraq, Kuwait, and the eastern parts of Syria. Sumerians dominated Mesopotamia till this point of time. After that, some other persons came. So Sumerian civilization is the early stage of Mesopotamian civilization. Around 150 BC, Mesopotamia was under the control of the Parthian Empire. Now we start with the classical period. So make sure you understand all these things and have a proper idea that so whatever is just important, the sum up of everything has been given to give you an idea that okay, this civilization, this era, and this is how we are evolving, and this is all about it. Okay. Classical period or classical era, classical antiquity, classical age, any of these things can be termed for the same particular thing. Classical period, classical era, classical antiquity, classical age. This is the period of cultural history between the 8th century BC and the 6th century BC, AD, centered on the Mediterranean Sea, comprising the interlocking, the civilization of ancient Greece and ancient Rome, known as the Greco-Roman world. So, what is happening at this point of time is, this is the period of cultural history between 8th century and 6th. Cultural history in the sense, people are trying to share. So, like, colony over here or a group of people over here, community is trying to connect with the other, and they are trying to come up with a similar kind of concept, similar kind of mixed kind of concept of structures and all. They are merging. So, centered on the Mediterranean, comprising the interlocking the civilization of ancient Greece. So, this is what I am telling, same thing. Interlocking the civilization of ancient Greece and ancient Rome, known as the Greco-Roman world. That's why when we go deep into Greek architecture, we understand the columns and all, same kind of things are there in Roman architecture as well. Impact of post and Latin can also be found in this period of architecture, but in a more sophisticated manner. So what we have, these things are known as orders in Greek architecture. This is the Doric order, this is the Ionic order, and this is a Corinthian order. Orders means nothing but pillars. Okay. There are several things which are done to stand the structure, and there was ornamentation done. For Doric, top is plain, central area is thick. So this is not the ending. This is top part. And this goes. Middle portion is thicker, top part is thinner, bottom portion is thinner. And other than that, the top part is very plain. Okay. This is the Doric pillar. Now, below that, we have the Ionic pillar. The Ionic pillar has kind of curly hairs like a girl. This is the Corinthian pillar or the Corinthian order, which is a lot of ornamentation on the top. Okay. On the capital. So this top part is known as the capital. Okay. Now we try to understand what is the Byzantine period. So 4th century to the 17th century, we have the Byzantine period. The Byzantine Empire, also known as the Eastern Roman Empire, was the communication of the Roman Empire in the eastern provinces during the late antiquity. The Byzantine architects drew heavily on the Roman temple features. The combination of the basilica and the symmetrical central planned religious structures resulted in the characteristics Byzantine Greece cross planned church with a square central mass and 4 arms of equal length. Geometry took a different form in this time. Domes and circular structure are seen in this period. The most famous example of Byzantine architecture is Hagia Sophia. Okay, so Hagia Sophia is one of the most famous Byzantine architecture. Any idea where is Hagia Sophia located in today's time?
No, sir.
Search the name and tell me quickly. Where is Hagia Sophia located? Quick search for Hagia Sophia. Tell me where is it located? Where is it located? So that's all for today's class. We will start with the Romanesque period, which is a very essential part of the history of architecture in the next class. Thanks a lot, guys. People who are watching this class as a recording, make sure you check out any doubts and all. Please write it down in the chat section in the app. And that's all for today's class. Thanks a lot.